Have you ever witnessed a microaggression at work and you wanted to say something, but you didn't know how? Or maybe you did speak up, but somehow you made things a hell of a lot worse. Good intentions don't equal allyship. I've seen well-meaning people derail important conversations, make themselves the hero in someone else's struggle, or actually put the person they're trying to help in a more vulnerable position. Today, we're talking about how to be an effective ally in the workplace. Someone who actually makes a difference without centering your own discomfort or need for validation. This situation presents itself more often than people are willing to admit, so that's why I want to talk about it today. I'm Noelle, senior leader, career coach, and host of the weekly podcast, We Lead Anyway. I've worked with hundreds of people navigating workplace dynamics over the past 20 years around bias and discrimination. I have kind of a lot of perspective to add. Now, first, let's get clear on what we're talking about. Allyship isn't a badge that you earn or an identity that you claim. It's a practice. It's ongoing action. Real allyship is about transferring the benefits of your privilege to those who lack it. Notice I said transferring, not just acknowledging. Acknowledgement without action, it's just performance. Also, allies, you can't just proclaim that you're an ally. For marginalized groups, allyship is assessed through consistent actions over time. It shows up in how someone responds when bias occurs, whose voices they amplify, whether they intervene when harm is done, and how they use their power when it actually costs them something. Because the consequences of bias are not equally shared. The people most impacted are the only ones who can meaningfully evaluate whether support is real or performative. It's about how we feel. When someone claims allyship for themselves, it shifts the focus away from accountability and onto self-perception. It can also shut down feedback. If someone believes they're already an ally, they may be less open to hearing that a comment or behavior caused harm, because it conflicts with their self-image. Here's what allyship isn't. It's not posting a black square on Instagram and calling it a day. It's not saying, I'm one of the good ones because you have diverse friends. Also, please don't count your diverse friends. And it's definitely not making someone else's experience of discrimination about how uncomfortable it makes you feel. And that's why we have to do something. Here's what allyship is. It's using your voice when you have less to lose than someone else does. It's actively creating opportunities for people who've been locked out. It's listening more than you speak, especially when you're uncomfortable. It's being willing to mess up, get corrected, and do better next time without becoming defensive. The key principle we're going to return to again and again. Your job as an ally is to make things easier for the person experiencing bias, not to make yourself feel better. Did you hear that? One of the biggest mistakes I see is people not understanding the difference between speaking up and amplifying. Both are important, but they serve different purposes. So when do you speak up directly? Well, you speak up when the person targeted isn't in the room or doesn't have the social capital to push back without a serious risk. For example, you're in a leadership meeting and someone suggests, we need someone more assertive for this client-facing role. After a qualified woman candidate was interviewed, she's not in the room. You have standing. That's your moment to say, can we unpack what we mean by assertive? Because I've seen her handle difficult stakeholders effectively. Speak up when the comment is so egregious that silence would be complicity. Speak up in situations where your relationship with the person making the comment might actually land differently than if someone else said it. So that's speaking up. What about amplification? Amplify when someone makes a great point and you have more organizational clout. You're not taking credit. You're explicitly attributing it. Building on Keisha's strategy, which I think is exactly right, amplify by creating platforms. If you're asked to speak on a panel, recommend someone else. If you're invited to a meeting, ask if so-and-so is going to be there, because they should be. Here's the test. Ask yourself, will my speaking benefit the person experiencing bias, or will it just make me feel like I did something? If it's the latter, find another way. Let's talk about privilege. And I don't mean this in an abstract academic way. I mean the very real practical advantages you have in workplace situations. Privilege might mean you can push back on a bad idea without being labeled difficult. You can be assertive without being called aggressive. You have a close relationship with decision makers. You can make a mistake without it being attributed to your whole demographic group. God, the pressure. You can have an off day without someone suggesting that you don't belong here. And here's how to use that strategically. There's a few strategies. Strategy 1, be the shield. Sometimes you need to take the heat so someone else doesn't have to. If a policy is harmful and you can challenge it with less risk, do it. For example, a new cultural fit hiring requirement is introduced. You know this is often code for discrimination, whatever the discrimination. And you can say, I'm concerned this language is too subjective and can lead to legal issues. What specific skills or qualities are we actually looking for? You framed it as a business risk, not a moral argument. That lands differently coming from you than it might someone who would be more directly harmed by it. Second strategy, create access. Privilege often means access to information, to rooms, to opportunities. Sharing. Forward the email about the leadership program. Make introductions. Recommend people for stretch assignments. Sponsor someone, not just mentor them. Sponsorship means putting your reputation on the line to advocate for someone else's advancement. There's a third strategy, redistribute visibility. If you're getting praise for work that was collaborative, name your collaborators specifically. If you're invited to something prestigious and someone else would benefit more, recommend them and then explain why. This isn't false modesty. Oh no, I couldn't go. It's about accurate attribution. The fourth strategy, interrupt the pattern. Privilege means your interruption might be taken as helpful rather than aggressive. Use that. Hey, I think we're all talking at once. Can you let Jordan finish their thought? I'm noticing we keep coming back to concerns about this candidate that we didn't raise about the last 3 candidates. What's the difference here? You're not accusing anyone of bias. You're noticing a pattern and you're creating space for reflection. Look, even with good intentions, there are landmines. Let me walk you through the most common ones I see. Mistake number 1, the hero complex. This is when you make someone else's experience of discrimination about your journey of becoming enlightened. Like in a meeting about workplace bias, you share a long story about how you used to not understand, but then you learned and now you get it. The problem? You just centered yourself in a conversation that should be about the people experiencing the harm. Your learning journey, it's not the business right now, okay? Mistake number 2, the oversimplification. This is when you reduce complex experience to sound bites that make you comfortable. Someone shares a nuanced experience of a racial microaggression, and you respond, yeah, and people just need to be kinder to each other. That's not allyship. That's dismissal dressed up as wisdom. Systemic issues require systemic analysis and solutions, not platitudes. We hate that, by the way. Mistake number 3, the freeze. This is when you're so afraid of saying the wrong thing that you say nothing at all. Silence in the face of injustice is a choice, and it's not a neutral one. Yes, it might be uncomfortable, but your comfort is not the priority here. Speak up imperfectly rather than staying silent. Number 4, this mistake is the one and done. You speak up once, you feel good about yourself, and then you never do it again. Allyship isn't a one-time act. It's a consistent practice. If you only advocate when it's convenient or when you have an audience, that's not allyship. Again, performing. Mistake number 5, expecting gratitude or education. You're not owed praise for doing the right thing. And it's not the job of the people experiencing bias to educate you on every nuance of their experience. Do your homework. Google it for the love of Pete. Read, listen, learn. And when someone does share their experience with you, receive it as a gift. It's not your right. You're not entitled to that. Mistake number 6, becoming defensive when corrected. Here's a guarantee. At some point, you'll get it wrong. Someone will tell you that your attempt to help actually hurt, or that you missed something important. Your response in that moment determines whether you're actually committed to allyship or just committed to feeling good about yourself. The right response, thank you for telling me. I'm sorry. What would be more helpful? The wrong response. Well, I was just trying to help. I guess I can't do anything right. Or launching into defense of your intentions. Nobody cares. Just acknowledge it. And let's get practical. Real allyship isn't about big statements or grand gestures. It's about interrupting the everyday moments where bias quietly shows up. It's redirecting credit when someone is talked over, pushing for specificity when culture fit is used as a catch-all, and naming microaggressions without putting the burden on the person harmed. It means refusing to tone police valid frustration and questioning performative inclusion when equity issues remain unresolved. These moments are often subtle and uncomfortable, but consistently challenging them is how trust is built and how workplace culture actually changes. So I'm asking you to take some things away from this. Effective allyship isn't about getting credit. It's not even about being liked. It's about making the workplace safer, more equitable, and more just for people who don't have the same privileges you do. Whatever the privileges, that means speaking up when you have less to lose, amplifying voices instead of replacing them, using your privilege to create access and opportunity, staying committed even when it's uncomfortable, and be willing to mess up and learn. And here's the thing, you're gonna mess up. You will. I have no reason to mess up. The question is whether you're committed enough to keep going, to listen when you're corrected, and to do better next time. Real change doesn't happen because one person has a perfect moment of allyship. It happens because lots of people commit to the ongoing, imperfect practice of showing up for each other. So start small. Pick one thing from today's video. Maybe it's you amplify someone's idea in your next meeting, or maybe it's having a hard conversation about a biased policy. Maybe it's shutting the hell up and listening when someone shares their experience. But whatever it is, do it, and then do it again. And that's how change happens. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear how you're putting allyship into practice. Drop a comment below. If you have a question or a topic you'd like me to discuss, email me at noelleadsanyway@gmail.com. And if you want to talk more about all things workplace, visit leadwithnoelle.com. Also, check out my weekly podcast called We Lead Anyway. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Until next time.